Good day, everyone. Today, we will be discussing using graphic organizers to show understanding of text. Together, let's make learning English fun and easy. In this lesson, you are expected to tell what happens at the beginning, middle, and end of the story using story sequence organizers. After completing a graphic organizer, it makes the study more enjoyable and efficient to the students. Graphic organizers are visual charts and tools used to represent and organize a student's knowledge or ideas. They're often used as part of the writing process to help students map out ideas, plot character details, and settings before beginning to write. As part of reading process, graphic organizers require students to stop and think about what is important while they are reading. They are great to use as a tangible way for students to record their thinking before, during, or after reading. Sequencing is a reading comprehension strategy that helps students identify the components in a story, including the beginning, middle, and end. The signal words like first, next, then, and finally are used to show the order of events. It also involves the ability to summarize and retell the events in a story or text in order in which they happen. At 5 o'clock in the morning, the sun came up. A friendly ladybug flew in from the left. It saw a leaf with many aphids on it and decided to have them for breakfast. But just then, a grouchy ladybug flew in from the right. It, too, saw the aphids and wanted them for breakfast. When did the story happen? Read the part. At 5 o'clock in the morning. Where did the story happen? Read the part. In a leaf with many aphids. What do you call this part of the story? We talk about the time and place in which the story took place. It is called the setting. Do all stories need setting? Why? Stories must have a setting because it will determine the place in which the story takes place. Who are the characters of the story? The characters in the story is the friendly ladybug and the grouchy ladybug. How did the characters solve the problem? How did the story end? They both saw a leaf with many aphids and decided to have them as their breakfast. Now, look at the illustration presented below. Notice that the events from the story are written inside the boxes. We call these boxes a graphic organizer. Graphic organizers can be used to show sequences of events in the story. First, at 5 o'clock in the morning, the friendly ladybug flew in from the left. Next, the ladybug saw a leaf with many aphids on it and decided to have them for breakfast. Then, suddenly, a grouchy ladybug flew in from the right. Finally, the grouchy ladybug saw the aphids and wanted them for breakfast too. Let's do this. Read the selection. Retell the events using the graphic organizer. Use the signal words first, next, then, and finally. Buddy and the Cat. Little Buddy Cockroach is a house bug. Mother Bug always tells him to stay in dark places and hide. He listens to her with half an ear, not really believing in what she says. How could they not like me? I have beautiful shiny wings, a long antenna. Surely they would love me, he thought. Then Buddy saw a black cat and said, I will show my mother, Cockroach, that she is strong. But when the cat saw him, it immediately jumped and started running after him with its sharp claws. Buddy ran as fast as he could to the dark place under the cabinet and never ever came out. First, Little Buddy Cockroach is a house bug. Mother Bug always tells him to stay in dark places and hide. He listens to her with half an ear. Next, he believed that everyone would love him because of his beautiful shiny wings, a long antenna. Then, Buddy saw a black cat, but when the cat saw him, it immediately jumped and started running after him with its sharp claws. Finally, Buddy ran as fast as he could to the dark place under the cabinet and never ever came out. The Dog and His Image. Once, there lived a proud huge dog under a bridge near the brook. He once stole a piece of meat and ran away. Down the road he went and crossed the brook through a plank. Midway across it, he stopped and looked into the water. He thought he saw another dog with a piece of meat in his mouth. This meat looked larger to him than his own. I'll have it, growled he, and sprang into the water. But he lost first the piece of meat and did not get the other. For what he saw, what was his own reflection. First, there lived a proud huge dog under a bridge near the brook. He once stole a piece of meat and ran away. Let's draw this. Next, he went and crossed the brook through a plank. He stopped and looked into the water. Let's also draw this. Then he thought he saw another dog with a piece of meat in his mouth. This meat looked larger to him than his own. Let's draw this. Finally, he growled and sprang into the water, but he lost first the piece of meat and did not get the other. For what he saw was his own reflection. Let's draw this. Let's do this. Arrange the events to form a story. Write each event in the appropriate box. Be guided by the signal words. First, Alec woke up early in the morning. Next, he had his breakfast and brushed his teeth. Then, he went straight to the bathroom. Then he dressed up. Finally, he packed his things and went to school. How a news item reaches the newspaper. An eyewitness calls the newspaper publisher. Next, the reporter heads to an accident scene. The reporter sent the story to the editor through email, who double-checks it for accuracy, grammar, and spelling. Finally, the story is featured on the newspaper. Let's do this. Movies are stories as well. Think of your favorite movie and use graphic organizer in identifying important events. First, Peter Parker joined their school educational trip in a science museum that studies different exotic animals. Next, he was bitten by a wild spider during a tour, and he is rushed to the hospital. Then, he felt strange changes in his body after being bitten by the spider. Finally, he became a superhero and called Spider-Man. Let's do this. Choose your favorite story. Use graphic organizer in identifying the important events. Use the signal words first, next, then, and finally. First, a rabbit wants to know who is the fastest among them. Next, he challenged a turtle for a race. Then, the race started. The rabbit was too far from the turtle, so he decided to sleep. Finally, the turtle won the race because he never stops and never wastes any opportunity in his way. Let's do this. Fill in the graphic organizer below with the appropriate orders of event. Use the signal words first, next, then, and finally to complete the sentence. First, there was a tiny egg. The eggs are laid by the mother on a very specific leaf. Next, then, and finally. First, there was a tiny egg. The eggs are laid by the mother on a very specific leaf. Next, the egg becomes a caterpillar. When the caterpillar hatches out of the egg, it immediately begins to eat the leaf it is on. Then, the caterpillar builds a home around itself. It forms itself into a chrysalis. Finally, a pretty butterfly came out. First, next, then, and finally. First, Lolo Peter planted a seed. Next, a tiny leaf appeared. Then, it had more leaves and branches that were bigger. Finally, it had fruits. Fruits are good to eat when it is ripe. I understand that graphic organizers are visual charts and tools used to represent and organize a student's knowledge or ideas. I realized that sequencing is a reading comprehension strategy that helps students identify the components in a story, including the beginning, middle, and end. I need to learn more about the signal words like first, next, then, and finally are used to show the order of events. Thank you for watching. Till our next English lesson. Goodbye!